Good afternoon, good night. What have you done with your life? That's a jam. I need to start playing that in the beat. Nah, I don't want to get in trouble. Talib be Talib be you know Talib be going at people's necks. So I don't want no smoke. I don't want no smoke. Good morning. Yeah, it is good morning here. Um, and my teenager, I feel like I got drugged out of doing some lawn work because he put one of those like, oh yeah, let me go. I mean, I'm gonna go. He, I'm gonna go do something real quick in my room, and then I don't see you for 2 hours. So, yeah, he got me. He got me. So I'm about to. I was like, let me come on here and tell y'all what I've been reading since I'm not about to cut the grass. Um, and I have been reading. Oh my goodness. So I'm gonna get right into it. Last I was on here, I was telling you all about how the word is passed, how I had started it, and it was really good. And it was really good. It was really good all the way through the book from beginning to end. I was annotating in the beginning and I kind of fell off toward the end because I was relying more heavily on the audio toward the end. Just trying to get my housekeeping in order, and get all my other things that need to be done while reading. So I didn't do as much annotating in the book. I did still keep up with my journal, um kind of, not really, but a little bit. I still made a few notations in my actual physical reading journal. But this was very good, which is that's what I figured it would be. Um, like I said before, it's very well written, very well written. Clint Smith is actually a poet, so it was cool. It was really appropriate. The language was very solemn and very appropriate for the topic because, like I said, this book is a reckoning with the history of slavery across America. So he did he went to quite a few sites, um, all over the world, but he went to Monticello Plantation, which is where Thomas Jefferson owned Monticello, and Sally Hemings lived on the premises. So they have like a tour of Monticello, and they also have like tours of like Sally Hemings area, and um so now in contemporary times they don't leave that part of the history out. So he went there. He went to the Whitney plantation, which I found it interesting to hear that they had a statue art installation of the the culmination, like the end of a slave rebellion wherein they had put over 50 heads on the stakes. So that was kind of jarring to me. But see, in the last video, I was saying that, we don't frequent plantations and these type of tours because the history is very uncomfortable for us, but it's still a history that we want understood and told and not forgotten, because when people are allowed to rewrite history and forget history, then we get the type of things that we're seeing in the world today where they're picking and choosing and rewriting history right in front of us. to our own detriment, because if you don't understand history of the past, you are doomed to repeat it. And I promise you that they're trying to repeat what they were doing back then. So, yeah, the Whitney plantation, um, heads on stakes. I wasn't ready for that. Then he went to Angola prison, a reckoning that also, like, we need to really, that chapter really kind of helped piece together what we've been saying about the 13th Amendment, that was well documented um, in the documentary 13th, which can currently be seen on Netflix and probably other streaming platforms. But um, oh, now you want to come downstairs and make a bunch of noise? Okay. Are we going to do the lawn? I don't know if I'm doing the lawn. He didn't took too long to come downstairs. Um, yes, so he goes on tours at the different places, and he talks to the people who are giving the tours. He talks to the people who are there to take in the tours and enjoy the tours. So enjoy the tours or learn. Some of them know that they're about to learn some stuff. Some of them don't. Um, yeah. The He goes to a Confederate cemetery called Blandford Cemetery. Look, this book got the juice. How the word is passed. The title is, how do we understand what happened? How do we tell the story about what happened? And how are we dealing with it in present day? What are we allowing to be ignored? What are we accepting as truth? What are we still lying about? How the word is passed is very important. We need to know what was done so that accountability can be had and things can be reckoned with, like he says. And we can move on. Can't move on without the reckoning. He also visits Galveston Island, which is the birthplace of Juneteenth. And so there's a chapter about Juneteenth and how it wasn't. I mean, I think that people know that it wasn't, just as simple. Just like it wasn't just as simple as the Emancipation Proclamation, it also was not simple as Juneteenth. Oh, now we're all understanding everywhere that this is the law of the land and everyone is free. It wasn't simple. And these stories explain you know how complicated these things were. He has a chapter about New York City, and the last place that he goes is Gorée Island, which is in Senegal. This is a good book. I'm going to revisit this again. It was great to read the first time. I have this book because it was on my son's reading list last year, and yeah, picked it up. Wanted to read it. My father my father started reading it with him at the same time, and he was like, "Oh, this is good." So I definitely took that as a recommendation from him, and then it's got so many accolades. Like, there are very many quotes. It says one of the year's best books by all these different publications, which is the ones that I read in the red box on the back. And then there's all these quotes, large, quotes, just from people who were impacted by the work. I noted my favorite one. Let me read it to you. A work of moral for okay, let me start over. A work of moral force and humility. How the Word is Passed offers a compelling account of the history and memory of slavery in America. Smith moves seamlessly between past and present, revealing how slavery is remembered and misremembered and why it matters. Engaging and wise, this book combines history and reportage, I get, which is, I assume, reporting, poem, and memoir. It is a deep lesson and a reckoning by Matthew Desmond, author of Evicted. That was a good blurb. Summed it all up. Gives its accolades, tells you why to read it, and which shouldn't be a surprise, it was written by someone whose work I have already read and respect. Matthew Desmond, author of Evicted. Check out Evicted. Evicted is a nonfiction. It's about what happens to families in the eviction process, what leads up to the eviction process, what happens to people after the eviction process. Evicted is a great nonfiction to read, especially right now. Very timely. Always, I'm always with the timely recommendations. Partly because I think that all of this shit matters all of the time, and we just need to understand how to apply all of this knowledge to our lives and to our existence. But that's another story for another day. I'm very woo woo. Um, yeah, how the word is passed. Get some of this history. I'm I'm gonna leave it at that. Let me check my notes. The blurb was good. Let me see. Just see. Is there anything? I know that there was something that I wanted to tell you guys. Excuse me. Okay, I do have something. So let me just oh boy. Sorry. I wasn't prepared. Okay, so this is going to be from the chapter on what chapter is this? This is the chapter on the Whitney plantation. The quote from the book is let me make sure. I thought of how I had grown up in Louisiana and had never been taught that the largest slave rebellion in U.S. history happened just miles from the city that raised me, that had raised me. I had never been taught that the Louisiana Purchase was a direct result of the Haitian Revolution, the uprising that laid the groundwork for all the slave revolts that followed in its wake. Now, my reflection was I absolutely was taught this. And this is why we cannot let them sanitize history in schools. They do not want you to know how history works. If this country was built brick by brick by people who were well read, people who understand the imbalance of power, people who understand the potential of an educated populace, what do you think is going to happen to an uneducated and illiterate nation? Join the fight against screen time and devices in schools. Now, that last line, that may have sounded like it didn't apply to the rest of it, but hear me out. I put it in there because knowledge is so important to our liberation, and the development of our people as well as our personal lives, that we have to kind of step in here and take control of what's going on with the young generation that's coming up and recognize the detriment of the screens and the devices and the illiteracy, the functional illiteracy. We have to turn this around. That's all I'm saying. So that's it. That's it for now. I try to stick to the books. I try to stick to the books. I appreciate you all for rocking with me and listening to me and listening to my thoughts. And I try to rein it in. I try to kind of have like a more curated conversation on these interwebs. And yeah, but yeah, if you know me, it can get a little crazy. I also read Astrophysics for Busy People. I listened to it. I listened to Astrophysics for Busy People. It was read by the author Neil deGrasse Tyson. It was a quick listen, and do I feel like I understand astrophysics better? Probably a little bit. Probably a little bit. A lot of what I understand is stuff that I kind of understood the concept already. Um, but yeah, I would go back and see. That's something that I would like to have in front of me and like read a book, annotate it, because you have a deeper understanding of these works when you can sit with it, annotate it, write your reflections down, uh, cross reference what you're reading with something else. When it comes to science, I need a visual. Like, I've been learning science for decades, and a visual or a practical application is always going to help. Um, but yeah, I you can get a lot out of these quick, like nonfiction. If you're a lifetime learner, or you enjoy learning and nerdy things like myself, I yeah I will listen to it again. Because, like, yeah, when it comes to concepts like quirks and stuff like that, it's interesting hearing him talk about it, and hearing him like kind of break it down and explain it on a basic level. I appreciate that. I appreciate Neil deGrasse Tyson. I want him to like write more books, and I don't wonder how many books he's written. But I liked, him just explaining things. He can explain things so well. So I appreciated that. I'll have to check out and see what else he has out there to read. Oh, please don't die. Um, yeah, I was online and I was trying to explain like order, the order of magnitude, because I was just watching videos on here, and someone was talking about what a trillion is, and he was just kidding, but he said a trillion is a fake number and everything. And I commented. I didn't get any, I don't know if anyone cared or read it, or I haven't gotten any notifications or anything. But a trillion is 1,000 billion. So I like to think of it that way, because I feel like it's a easy way to think of the magnitude. A million is 1,000 thousand. A billion is 1,000 millions, and a trillion is 1,000 billions. That's why it's so incomprehensible how large these numbers are, because I think that's a good way to explain it. I don't know. Does anyone agree? Put it in the comments. I don't know. The last thing that I am currently reading, what I'm reading, and I'm going to finish it up later today. If I had been cutting grass, then I would have came to you tomorrow once I had finished it. But whatever. The Last Summer on State Street. The Last Summer on State Street by Toya Wolf. A novel. So This is like a coming of age story. And if you thought that it was going to be like a sweet little coming of age story, nostalgia. So the book is about a family, um, and like four little girlfriends that live in Robert Taylor homes right as um, they're being, the projects are being torn down and the families are being like relocated in other parts of the city. So the if you thought it was, this is me, I'm talking to myself. If you thought it was gonna be a coming of age story that was like nostalgic and um coming of age, it hits like hard, but most of it is like nostalgic and young, and you were carefree and now you're not carefree anymore. So it's kind of like it's like a positive, but like we all have to grow up type of vibe. There is that in here, but it is also not that. It is not just a coming of age story. This is pretty biting indictment of what was going on at that time in the city, in the homes. And um I did not expect that. I did not expect that. So I appreciate that she was as raw and truthful as she decided to be when writing this novel. I actually was like, oh, shoot, this is really hidden like a historical fiction. And that's what I'm going to call it, historical fiction, because it felt a lot like a memoir. It felt a lot like, yeah, it just felt like a lot like a recounting of what was actually happening. Hard hitting. Hey, I'm going to lighten it up, okay? Between those, last two, between, not the astrophysics, but between these two, between these two, yeah, the videos are gonna get a lot more light from here on out. I don't even know how much more credit, like how much more time I have. Last time I checked, I had a little bit over 2 weeks on these credits, so I'm still, I'm still in the thick of this, and probably look, in 2 weeks, I'm hoping I need to turn out quite a few videos. I'm gonna try to deliver, and yeah, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Happy reading to me. Happy reading to you. I'm gonna see if I can get this grass cut. I always okay. Let me get the right hand, cause I don't want my hand in the damn screen.